The crystal halls of Solenne Prime shone like frozen morning light. Jace Rowan walked under the tall arches in quiet steps, his combat suit humming like a soft heartbeat. He was a human veteran, hired by the Solenne court for jobs no one else wanted. Today, he had been called to the one place every outsider feared and desired, the Hall of Mirrors, where truth was said to bend, but never break. The doors opened without a sound. Inside, the Regent of Solenne waited on a throne grown from living prism stone. Regent Kayles was slim and still, like a blade at rest. His skin held a silver-blue glow, and his eyes were violet, bright and sharp. "You return with success," Kayles said. His voice carried from stone to stone. "The border raids have ended." "Yes, Regent," Jace replied. He did not bow deeply. He had learned Solenne people respected balance, not groveling. The Regent nodded once, then turned his gaze to his second throne. There, a woman sat straight and calm. She wore white and soft gold, threads of light running through the cloth like captured stars. Her hair was pale as moon frost. Her eyes were violet, too, but unfocused. They did not track the room. They faced through it. "This is Princess Lyra," Kayles said. "My daughter. My advisor. The voice of the southern provinces." Lyra tilted her head toward Jace as if she could hear his breath change. "And you are the human who does the difficult things," she said, a small smile touching her mouth. "Your steps are even. Your suit sings in the low range. You are careful." Jace felt something flicker in his chest. "Careful keeps me alive," he said. "And keeps others alive, too." "Good," she answered. "We need alive." Regent Kayles rose. "I have a task that needs both caution and courage. A rival power, the Varkesh Dominion, arrives tomorrow. They come as guests. They act as hunters. They offered attachment." His eyes cooled. "They want to bond with my daughter. They say it is respect. I call it leverage." Lyra's fingers traced the arm of her hover throne. Thin lines of light answered her touch. The throne moved with a whisper, like a swan on clear water. "The Varkesh prefer minds to muscles," she said. "They like what I can do. They do not like who I am." Jace looked at her chair. He had seen devices. He had worn many. None felt like this. This one seemed to listen back. Kayles's words came slower now. "Lyra cannot see the world as we do. She has no motion in her legs. But her mind meets the crystal network. She hears the city breathe. She knows its moods. People come for her title. Some come for our wealth. Few see her as person first." Lyra's chin lifted. "Regent. Father. Let him speak for himself." Jace met her blind, unblinking gaze. It felt like standing near a cliff and loving the view anyway. "Your Highness," he said, steady. "I was hired for trouble, not for court games. But I can tell a trap when I hear one. If the Varkesh come to bind, they will first try to cage." Lyra's smile sharpened. "A clear sentence. I like that." Kayles folded his hands behind his back. "I want you at Lyra's side for the talks. You will advise. You will guard. If you sense a net, you will cut it." "And if I refuse?" Jace asked. He already knew he would not. "Then you return to coin and quiet," Kayles said. "And I wish you a gentle road." Lyra did not wait. "Walk with me, Jace Rowan." Her throne drifted from the dais. It glided down a ramp that bloomed from the floor as she thought it. The hall seemed to rearrange in her path, obeying without fear. They entered a gallery where the wall crystals held faint echoes of old songs. Lyra kept her head angled toward him. "People whisper about me," she said. "They think blindness means softness. They think the chair means weakness. They are wrong. I don't think that," Jace said. "I know." Her voice warmed. "Your steps did not slow near me." He almost smiled. "I try not to trip over royalty." "You will have other things to trip over," she said. "Ambassador Thrall of the Varkesh is the seventh son of a proud nest. He believes patience is a form of domination. He will smile and take measurements. He will praise and test." "What does he want most?" Jace asked. "Control of what he cannot make," Lyra said. "Control of what must be earned." They reached an open terrace. Below, Solenne Prime spread like a sea of glass reefs. Tall spires sang in the wind. The air smelled cool and clean, like rain on stone. Lyra rested her palm on the rail. Light throbbed gently under her skin, as if answering an old friend. "The crystal network speaks to me," she said softly. "It sings in shapes you cannot hear in air. I try to answer with care. I try to be kind." "Does it speak to the Varkesh?" Jace said. It obeys them when forced, she replied. But it never loves them. A small silence stood between them, calm but bright. Tomorrow, Lyra said, we step into the game. If you stay, you stand in my light, and my shadow both. Jace watched the city and felt the old soldier in him wake up in a new way. I've stood in fire, he said. Light and shadow I can manage. Far below, a distant horn rolled across the glass reefs. Ships were arriving at outer ports earlier than planned. Lyra's head turned toward the sound that was not a sound. They come, she whispered. And somewhere deep inside the Hall of Mirrors, a wall crystal recorded the moment the human and the princess chose the same road. The record did not know it yet, but history had just turned. The next morning, Solenne Prime glowed beneath twin suns. Its surface shimmered like a sea of mirrors, each crystal tower reflecting the pale sky. Jace stood on the royal terrace beside Princess Lyra. Her hover throne drifted beside him, its faint hum blending with the distant music of the city. The Varkesh convoy has entered orbit, a voice reported through his comm link. Their flagship requests docking clearance. Jace's jaw tightened. And permission granted? By order of the regent, came the reply. He looked toward Lyra. She already knew. They're early, she said softly. They always arrive early. It gives them power before the first word is spoken. Jace studied her profile, the calm tilt of her head, the white braid that curved over her shoulder, the glint of gold filigree near her temple where her neural links met the skin. She looked delicate, but her presence filled the air with quiet strength. You sound like you've met them before, he said. I have, she answered. They do not come for peace. They come to claim. The royal courtyards began to fill with movement as crystalline banners unfolded above the landing platforms. Soldiers in silver armor took formation, their reflections scattering in 1,000 surfaces. From the largest vessel descended Ambassador Shrall of the Varkesh Dominion. He was tall, nearly 3 meters, with obsidian scales that glimmered like oil. His eyes, a strange shade between copper and green, glowed faintly in the sunlight. Behind him came 6 attendants, each moving in perfect rhythm, as if sharing one mind. When the delegation entered the hall, every sound seemed to hush. The air grew sharp. Regent Kayles, Shrall said, bowing only slightly. His voice rumbled, deep and measured. The Dominion honors your hospitality, and your daughter's brilliance. Lyra's throne glided forward. Ambassador, she replied, her tone cool but polite. The honor is balanced. Jace stood one step behind her, armored but silent. His eyes watched the Varkesh guards, mapping every possible threat. He saw how their gaze lingered on Lyra, not with admiration, but assessment, as if she were a device to be acquired. I understand, Shrall continued, that your people seek stronger bonds with other species. The Dominion has a proposal, an alliance by neural merge. Our minds and yours intertwined. Kaylee spoke before Lyra could answer. A merge is sacred among Solenne, he said. It is not politics. It is choice. Choice, Shrall echoed, smiling thinly. A beautiful illusion for those who can afford it. We, however, offer certainty. Lyra's lips curved into the smallest smile. Certainty, she said, is what the fearful calls safety. Shrall's expression stiffened for just a heartbeat before recovering. And who is this? He asked, turning his reptilian gaze on Jace. A guard? Or something more experimental? Jace's instinct told him not to answer, but Lyra did. He is my advisor. His name is Jace Rowan. He speaks when words are needed and acts when silence fails. Shrall's nostrils flared. A human. Curious choice, princess. The Dominion's archives record that humans struggle with emotional discipline. Jace stepped forward half a pace. We compensate with persistence. Lyra's tone turned bright and almost teasing. Ambassador, I assure you, persistence can be effective. The gathered courtiers hid their reactions behind composed faces, but the tension rippled like heat through the hall. Shrall's eyes flicked between them, reading undercurrents he couldn't control. After the ceremonial greetings, Kayles dismissed the crowd, leaving only Lyra, Jace, and the Varkesh delegation for private negotiation. The hall lights dimmed, revealing the crystal projections of trade routes and diplomatic charts. Lyra's fingers moved gracefully in the air, manipulating holographic symbols with neural precision. Jace stood close enough to see how the patterns formed around her like a living constellation. The crystals responded to her thoughts directly, flowing, shimmering, alive. The Varkesh watched in silence, captivated and covetous. Shrall finally spoke. Magnificent. You truly merge with your world, princess. No wires. No implants. Only thought. It's not about control, she said. It's about trust. The crystal listens when I listen back. He smiled, slow and cold. Then perhaps you will listen to this. The Dominion can give you what your body denies you. We have seen your condition. We can restore your sight, your motion. Lyra's hands paused. At what cost? None worth mentioning, Shrall said. A small exchange of genetic data. Shared research rights. In return, freedom from your throne. For the first time, Jace saw a flicker of anger cross her calm face. You misunderstand, she said quietly. My throne is not a prison. It is part of me. Shrall tilted his head. You would choose paralysis over perfection? Jace spoke before he could stop himself. Maybe perfection isn't what she wants. The ambassador's eyes narrowed. And you think you know what she wants, human? I don't, Jace replied. But I know what she doesn't. Chains dressed as gifts. Lyra's blind gaze turned slightly toward him, and Jace thought he saw something like warmth behind it. The negotiations ended with polite words and cold hearts. When the Varkesh left, the hall felt lighter, as if the air could finally breathe again. Lyra sat in silence for a moment, her fingers resting on the arm of her throne. They will try again, she said. I know, Jace answered. They believe power means domination, she continued. But power means endurance. You understand that. Jace shrugged. Humans learn endurance early. Lyra smiled faintly. Then we will need it. Because the next move is not theirs. It's ours. Outside, the twin suns sank behind the crystal horizon. Shadows stretched long across the palace floor. And somewhere deep within the network of Solenne Prime, a signal pulsed in secret. A whisper of warning that the Varkesh had already begun their game. Night fell over Solenne Prime like a tide of glass and stars. Every surface reflected light. Every sound seemed to echo twice. In the royal quarters, Jace stood beside Princess Lyra's private balcony, his armor now sealed in sleep mode. Below, the city shimmered as if alive, each building pulsing faintly with energy from the world's crystal core. Lyra's hover throne rested near the railing, the glow beneath it dim and calm. Her white gown caught the faint starlight, making her seem carved from the same substance as the city itself. They're not sleeping, Jace said, scanning the horizon. The Varkesh delegation. They're still sending signals from the docking ring. Lyra tilted her head slightly. You can sense that through your armor? He nodded. Even powered down, I can feel interference. They're scanning, probably mapping our palace network. Lyra's lips curved. They will find only what I let them. Jace frowned. You sound sure. She lifted her hand, and the air between them shimmered faintly with color, pale violet threads, like drifting smoke. Do you see this? He nodded slowly. This is the network, she said. Every crystal on Solenne is part of it. It listens to the heartbeat of our world. When I connect, I can feel it breathe. Every change, every intrusion, every pulse. Then they can't hide from you, Jace said. No, she said softly. But I must hide from them. The statement hung in the air, heavy and strange. What do you mean, he asked. Lyra's hand hovered above her chest. My blindness is not an accident, Jace. The crystal light inside me was born too strong. My eyes burned with it when I was a child. My father and the healers built this throne to balance the energy, to stop it from consuming me. The Varkesh want to access that same power, to take what was meant to stay here. Jace leaned forward, voice low. Then we stopped them. Her head turned toward him, and though her eyes saw nothing, her expression was sharper than sight. You speak as if it is simple. He shrugged slightly. Simple doesn't mean easy. Just clear. Lyra smiled faintly, the sound of quiet amusement breaking through the tension. Clear, she repeated. Humans always think clarity is a virtue. Here, clarity is a weapon. Before Jace could respond, the crystal lights across the horizon flickered once, then steadied. Lyra's tone shifted instantly. They've breached the outer network. He straightened. Can they reach this level? Not yet, she said, her hands already moving through the air, her throne humming beneath her. But they're testing the defense grid. They want to see if I'll react. which means they don't know how much I can see. Let's keep it that way, Jace said. Lyra nodded slightly. Agreed. A pause passed between them, the quiet kind that carried too much meaning. You risk yourself by standing beside me, she said softly. You're not of this world. If they attack, you have no claim to protection under Solenne law. I've been outside the law before, he said. Didn't like it much, but it didn't kill me either. Lyra's lips curved. You keep talking like that, and I might begin to believe humans are as reckless as the stories say. He gave a faint grin. We don't call it reckless. We call it hope. Lyra's hover throne turned toward him, closing the space. Between them, the hum deepened, a heartbeat of crystal energy. Hope, she whispered. I haven't used that word in years. Her hand lifted, uncertain but brave. She reached toward him, fingertips finding the air just before his face. You move like someone who's lost things, she said quietly. Things worth keeping. He caught her wrist gently, his touch steady. Maybe, he said. But tonight, I'm not losing anything. For a moment, neither spoke. The world outside was silent except for the soft pulse of the crystal network. Then Lyra's expression hardened again. The Varkesh will strike soon, she said. When they do, they'll use the old laws, trial of bonding. They'll claim that only by merging minds can they prove an alliance. Jace frowned. You can refuse, right? In words, yes, she said. But refusing before the council means shaming them publicly. My father cannot do that without risking war. So they will force a choice. Merge with them, or let them call us dishonorable. And if you merge? She exhaled slowly. Then they will own part of me. The crystal inside me listens to thought. Once they are connected, they could rewrite it, corrupt it, twist it into something else. The network would fall under their control. Jace's jaw clenched. Then there's no choice. We fight it before it starts. Lyra nodded. There is a way, but it's dangerous. The network can shield itself only through dual resonance, two connected minds channeling its pulse at once. Alone, I could burn out. But with another, Jace understood immediately. You mean me? She turned toward him again, her expression unreadable. You've been in combat armor long enough to sync with neural tech. Your brain can handle the load for a short while. But if we merge through the network, it will open your mind to mine. You'll see me. All of me. The parts one keep even from myself. I'll take that risk, he said without hesitation. Lyra's voice softened. You shouldn't say that so easily. I've faced death with less reason, Jace said. For a heartbeat, the world seemed still. Then she nodded once, decisive. Then it settled. Tomorrow night, before the council meeting, we merge through the lower crystal chamber. You will become my anchor. He gave a small, crooked smile. I've been called worse. Lyra's hand lingered near his, close enough for him to feel the warmth radiating from her skin. If we succeed, she said quietly, the network will know you as one of us. But if we fail, he finished the sentence for her. It won't matter what species I am. She nodded. Exactly. Far below, lightning forked across the mirrored plains, flashing silver against the dark horizon. The storm's reflection filled the room with fractured light. Lyra's blind eyes caught every flicker, like they could see what no one else could. Tomorrow, she said softly, we stop pretending to play their game. And start playing ours, Jace replied. Outside, thunder rolled like the breath of the planet itself, and the first spark of rebellion hummed to life inside Solenne's crystal heart. The storm over Solenne Prime raged through the night. Lightning rippled across the crystal plains, flashing against towers that sang with electrical echoes. Inside the palace, deep beneath its mirrored floors, Princess Lyra guided Jace down a spiral path carved from glowing stone. The air grew cooler, denser with energy. Every breath hummed with the pulse of the crystal network. This is the lower chamber, she said, her voice hushed but steady. Only a few have ever entered. My father calls it sacred. The Varkesh would call it a weapon. Jace glanced around. The walls weren't walls at all. They were alive, growing, shifting faintly, like the inside of a living circuit. Crystalline veins pulsed with violet light, carrying information like blood through a body. So this is where you connect to the network, he said. Lyra nodded. It's where I was born into it. He frowned. Born. When I was a child, the network almost killed me. My mind reached too far, too fast. My body couldn't hold the connection. My father built the hover throne to focus it, to keep the crystal inside me balanced. She moved her fingers through the air, and the chamber responded. A circle of light appeared on the floor, expanding outward until it surrounded them both. But balance is not what we need tonight. We need resonance. Tell me what to do, Jace said. Lyra turned toward him. Even blind, she found his position perfectly. Take off your gauntlet, she said softly. The armor will block the neural link. I need skin. Human skin. Jace hesitated only a second, then removed it. The metal fell against the crystal floor with a sharp echo. His bare hand felt the electric cold of the chamber air. Now, Lyra continued, touch the core with me. At the center of the room, a pillar of pure crystal rose from the ground, glowing from within. It pulsed slowly like a giant heartbeat. Lyra placed one slender hand against it. The light rippled in response. Jace followed. The instant his hand met the surface, pain shot up his arm like fire. He gritted his teeth. It's alive. Yes, Lyra said, voice low but calm. It's listening. The chamber darkened. The floor symbols brightened until the light surrounded them both in a perfect sphere. Focus on me, she said. Not the pain. Me. He did. The next moment, his mind exploded into sound. Not noised sound. A million tones at once, overlapping like music from another universe. He could feel thoughts that weren't his, sensations that weren't physical. And within it all, her. Lyra's mind. It wasn't cold or mechanical. It was vast and alive, like an ocean of light. He could feel her memories, fleeting images of her childhood, her laughter echoing in mirrored halls, her first connection to the network, and the unbearable brightness that had blinded her. She felt him too. His fear from war, the faces of fallen soldiers, the endless silence after battle. He tried to pull back, ashamed, but she reached for him inside the link. Don't hide. Her voice whispered through the light. We can't synchronize if you hide. He let go. Their connection deepened instantly. The floor rose in waves of color. Crystals along the walls bent inward, glowing hotter, as if pulled toward their energy. The entire network trembled. Good, Lyra breathed. Now listen. Through her, Jace could hear it. The voice of the planet itself. The crystals spoke in pulses, patterns, harmonics that shaped into understanding. And beneath it all, he sensed another tone. Dark, sharp, invasive. The Varkesh, Lyra said grimly. They're inside the outer grid. They're using my own signal to trace me. Jace clenched his jaw. Can you stop them? Not without you, she replied. You can counter their frequency. Your mind isn't bonded to crystal. It bends differently. Together, we can invert their signal. She turned toward him in the glowing darkness. Follow my rhythm. The sound of her mind filled his skull, pulsing in waves. He matched it, slow at first, then faster, until their heartbeats aligned. Light burst from the core. The chamber shook. Outside, on the palace spires, every crystal light flared once, then turned from violet to white. They're retreating, Jace said through the noise. No, Lyra whispered. They're learning. The vision inside his mind shifted. The Varkesh ships hovered above the capital, their scanners pulsing harder. They were tracing the source of resistance, tracing her. They're coming for you, he said. For us, she corrected. Then suddenly, the link wavered. The light in the chamber flickered violently. Jace felt pressure building behind his eyes. His nose bled. Lyra, it's too much. Hold on, she said sharply. If you break now, the network will collapse. I'm not breaking, he growled. I'm adapting. He forced his focus back through the pain, channeling everything he could. Images flashed through his mind. Memories of battle, of holding broken things together when everyone else gave up. He poured that willpower into the connection. The core stabilized. The light steadied. Lyra gasped in surprise. You did it. You stabilized a crystal mind link without training. He gave a pained laugh. Humans are stubborn. Comes with the species. Her hand found his in the light. Then let's finish this. Together, they sent a pulse through the network, a shockwave of pure resonance. Outside, the Varkesh scanners fried in their ships, sparks bursting across their hulls. The invasion paused, confused. When the light faded, both of them collapsed to the chamber floor, breathing hard. The crystal pillar had dimmed to a soft pulse again. Jace's vision blurred. Did we win? Lyra's voice trembled, but strong. For now, we closed them out. But they will return, angrier. She turned her head toward him. For the first time, Faint silver glimmers flickered inside her blind eyes. "You see that?" he asked. "Yes," she whispered. "I see you." Her eyes, once pale and empty, now glowed with the same light as the crystal heart. The forbidden merge had changed her, and not just her. Jace felt something new humming under his skin, a faint rhythm matching the chamber's pulse. "Lyra," he said quietly, "what did we just do?" Her lips parted in wonder. "We rewrote the network's code, using emotion instead of command." She turned fully toward him, her voice filled with awe and fear. "Jace, we didn't just save the network." She paused, breath unsteady. "We became part of it." And as thunder rolled across Solenne Prime, the crystals of the planet answered back, not in silence, but in song. The morning after the forbidden merge, Solenne Prime was not the same. Every crystal spire across the capital shimmered in rhythm, pulsing faintly, as if the planet itself had found a heartbeat. Jace stood on a balcony overlooking the mirrored plains, sunlight glinting off his bare forearm where faint threads of light now traced beneath his skin. They weren't tattoos. They moved, alive, shifting like rivers of energy. He flexed his hand, and the light pulsed back. Behind him, Lyra floated into the chamber on her throne. The glow from her eyes was gentler now, but when she spoke, her voice carried an undertone that wasn't entirely human or Solenian. "You feel it, don't you?" she said. He turned. "Yeah, like the air hums with us." Lyra nodded. "The merge connected more than minds. The crystal heart doesn't see us as separate anymore. You and I, we're harmonics in its pattern." Jace gave a faint smile. "That sounds poetic." "It's also dangerous," she said. "The Varkesh ships are silent, but they're not gone. They'll come again, and when they do, they'll sense our bond. The network broadcasts it like a flare." Jace frowned. "So now we're both targets." Lyra smiled faintly. "You sound surprised." "Not surprised," he said. "Just used to being the only one." For a moment, silence filled the space between them, comfortable, strange, alive. The air shimmered faintly, echoing the rhythm of their breathing. Then Lyra broke it. "My father summoned the council. They want to verify the source of last night's surge. They think I lost control." Jace crossed his arms. "You're not telling them the truth?" "I can't," she said firmly. "If they learn you merged with me, they'll see it as contamination. A human bonded to the crystal network? They'd panic. Or worse, they'd try to dissect how." He exhaled. "So what's the plan?" "We keep the secret," she said, "until we understand what we are." But secrets in Solenne never stayed buried long. The council gathered in the Hall of Echoes, an immense chamber where every voice resonated twice, once in sound and once in crystal reflection. Lyra entered with Jace walking silently behind, his armor polished but unpowered. The counselors, 6 of the oldest minds in Solenne, sat on raised platforms, their skin reflecting shades of violet and silver. Counselor Ven, the eldest, spoke first. "Princess Lyra, you were warned not to use the lower chamber unsupervised." "I was not unsupervised," she replied. "I had protection." Her gaze flicked briefly toward Jace, but she did not explain further. "The energy pulse you caused," another counselor said, "spread across the planetary grid. Entire systems rebooted. The outer satellites recorded interference resembling human tech signatures." "Explain this." Lyra stayed calm. "It wasn't interference. It was restoration. The network was under Varkesh infiltration. I acted to defend it." Ven's voice sharpened. "And how did you, bound to your throne and blind to sight, accomplish what our entire defense corps could not?" Lyra tilted her head slightly. "Because I listened. The network doesn't respond to commands anymore. It responds to intent." Whispers rippled through the chamber. Jace felt the tension in every echo. Ven leaned forward. "Intent? Emotion? You speak like a human mystic, not a Selenian scientist." Jace finally spoke, voice steady but low. "Maybe you should start listening like one." The room fell still. Every eye turned toward him. Who gave this human permission to speak? Ven demanded. Lyra's tone turned to steel. "I did." The old counselor's face hardened, but he stayed silent. Lyra continued, her voice carrying both authority and something new, an undercurrent that vibrated through the hall's crystals. "You think strength means control," she said. "But the network is alive. It doesn't obey. It harmonizes. That's why the Varkesh couldn't corrupt it. They tried to dominate what only love can guide. The last word, love, hung in the air like thunder. Gasps echoed, some in awe, others in disgust. Ven slammed his crystal staff to the floor. Enough. You speak of heresy. You speak like an outsider. Lyra smiled faintly. Perhaps that's what saved your world. After the meeting, they returned to her chambers. The silence was thick with what hadn't been said. You enjoyed that, Jace said finally. A little, Lyra admitted, laughter touching her voice. Their confusion keeps them from asking the right questions. And what are the right questions? Why the crystal obeyed emotion, she said, eyes glinting faintly. Why it answered not to command, but to connection. Jace leaned against the balcony rail. You think it's because of the merge? I know it is, she said. The network adapted to you. To us. It recognizes human unpredictability as part of its logic now. That's why it's evolving. He looked out over the horizon, where faint light rippled across the glass plains. Evolving into what? Before she could answer, the palace alarm shattered the calm. A deep, resonant tone reverberated through every wall, shaking the floor beneath them. Jace turned sharply. That's not internal security. Lyra's hands gripped her throne's edge. It's coming from orbit. A holographic projection burst to life above them. An image of Solenne's outer defense grid collapsing. Varkesh ships swarmed in formation, their dark hulls cutting through the upper atmosphere. They didn't retreat, Jace said. They waited. Lyra's fingers trembled slightly. They want the network. Or what we've become. Jace looked at her. Then we don't wait this time. We take the fight to them. Her blind eyes turned toward him, glowing brighter than before. You'd go up there? Against their fleet? He smiled faintly. You said the crystal responds to emotion. I've got plenty of that. She almost laughed. Almost. But the sound caught in her throat. Then you'll need more than courage. You'll need a way to connect beyond this planet. I thought you said the network was local. It was, she said, placing her hand over his chest. Until you. A surge of warmth spread through him. His veins lit like fire. Outside, the palace lights flared again, responding not to command, but to their joined pulse. The crystals sang louder, forming a deep, echoing tone that carried far beyond the atmosphere. Lyra whispered, Now, Jace, they'll hear us. And as the Varkesh fleet descended through the burning clouds, the hum of the crystal network rose like a storm. A symphony born from two hearts that no empire could ever silence. The skies above Solenne Prime burned with the color of vengeance. Dozens of Varkesh warships broke through the upper atmosphere, their hulls shimmering with iridescent armor. They descended in formation, casting long shadows over the crystal plains below. Each ship carried enough firepower to shatter cities. From the palace balcony, Jace watched the first waves streak across the horizon. The thunder from their engines rolled through his chest. Lyra's voice came through the comm link, steady but electric. They're broadcasting a demand. They want me to surrender the crystal core, or they'll level the capital. He tightened his grip on the balcony rail. They think they can scare you? They think I'll protect my people by submission, she said. They don't understand that protection doesn't mean obedience. Jace smiled grimly. Then let's teach them what protection really looks like. Deep inside the palace, the royal command chamber came alive with light. Soldiers, engineers, and pilots moved in synchronized precision, their silver armor reflecting the glow from the walls. The air trembled with tension and purpose. Regent Kayleigh stood at the center of the room, his sharp violet eyes tracking the tactical holograms above him. He looked at Jace as he entered. Human, you stand where no outsider has stood during a Selenian war council. Don't waste it. I don't plan to, Jace said. We can't beat them with weapons. Not directly, but we can beat them with signal. Lyra's hover throne glided into the chamber. The glow in her eyes had grown stronger, vibrant, almost alive. She nodded in agreement. The network is our shield now. The Varkesh are blind to emotion. They read strength in data. That's their flaw. Kayleigh's frowned. You're suggesting what exactly? A resonance strike, Jace said. Use the same neural link Lyra and I built, but amplify it through the entire crystal grid. Turn the planet itself into a counter-frequency generator. It'll overload their systems. Kayleigh's hesitated. That would drain the network. The heart could collapse. Lyra turned toward her father. It will hold. Jace stabilized it once before. And this time, he won't be alone. Her tone left no room for debate. Kayleigh studied her, then gave a slow nod. Do it. The core chamber is yours. The corridors trembled as they descended. Above, the first bombardment struck the outer shields. Crystalline towers shattered like glass, their fragments singing faintly as they fell. When Jace and Lyra reached the core chamber, the crystal pillar pulsed wildly, like a living heart beating too fast. Energy danced across the floor in ribbons of light. Lyra extended her hand toward the core. It's scared, she whispered. Jace blinked. The crystal is scared. It feels the pain of the world, she said softly. Every broken tower, every dying system, it's alive enough to grieve. He stepped beside her, his armored boots leaving faint ripples of energy on the floor. Then let's show it hope. He removed his helmet and touched the crystal surface. The energy surged instantly, recognizing him. Lyra's hand joined his, her pale fingers glowing where they met the light. Ready? She whispered. Always. The merge hit like a lightning strike. The chamber vanished. The walls dissolved into waves of pure radiance. Jace's body felt distant, like a shadow left behind. He and Lyra stood together in the endless field of light, suspended above a vision of Solenne Prime. They could see everything. The planet's grid pulsed beneath them, millions of crystals connected like veins of a sleeping giant. Above, the Varkash fleet loomed like dark wings blotting out the stars. Lyra's voice echoed through the shared space. They're spreading a control code through the atmosphere. It's infecting the grid. Then we changed the song, Jace said. He reached toward the network, its rhythm erratic, chaotic. She guided his hand, and together they reshaped it. Their combined will became melody, a pulse of courage, defiance, and love. The network sang. The sound was beyond hearing, felt rather than heard. Crystals across the planet responded, glowing brighter, their vibrations sinking into harmony. The melody built into a rising storm. Above the clouds, Varkash ships began to tremble. Their systems detected thousands of false readings, voices in their comms, whispers that weren't code but emotion, fear, hope, unity. What's happening? One of their captains shouted. The human's mind link is contaminating our frequencies, another yelled. Impossible. Humans can't. But they could. Jace and Lyra's harmony reached its crescendo. The entire sky lit up as Solenne Prime's core released a pulse so bright it split the storm in half. The Varkash fleet's energy cores overloaded. One by one, the ships froze midair, their lights flickering before falling silent. The surviving vessels broke formation and fled, their retreat burning trails of gold across the black sky. The war had ended before it began. Inside the chamber, Jace fell to his knees, smoke curling from the edges of his armor. Lyra's hover throne dimmed beside him, her breathing shallow but steady. He reached for her hand. You okay? Her lips curved into a tired smile. I think I just rewrote planetary defense doctrine. He laughed weakly. You always have to win the argument, huh? Her smile deepened, faint but real. Always. They sat in silence for a moment, surrounded by the soft hum of the core slowly calming. Then Lyra turned her head toward him. Jace, she whispered. Something's changing. He followed her gaze. The crystal around them was glowing not violet, but gold. The same color, now glowing faintly beneath their skin. The network's adapting again, he said. Lyra nodded. It's no longer just Solenian or human. It's both. It's us. He frowned. You mean? She smiled. The merge wasn't a single moment. It was evolution. The next generation of life won't be machine or organic. It will be unity. A deep tremor ran through the chamber. The core released one final wave of light. Soft, warm, alive. Above ground, the once ruined towers began to repair themselves, crystalline fragments rising into the air and fusing back into shape. The network sang in harmony again, stronger than before. Jace looked at Lyra. You just turned an entire planet into a living being. Her eyes glowed brighter, shimmering like twin suns. We did. She reached out and touched his face gently. And this world will remember us not as ruler and guard, but as the spark that made it feel. Outside, the last of the Varkash ships broke apart in silence. And far across the galaxy, listening civilizations would soon hear a new signal rising through the void. A song of light, written by two hearts that had learned how to love across species, across fear, across everything that once divided them. Dawn came to Solenne Prime not with sunlight, but with song. Every crystal spire shimmered in gold and violet hues, humming in perfect harmony. The sky, once scarred by war, was now painted with quiet peace. It was the first true silence the planet had known in centuries, a silence that felt alive. Jace awoke in the recovery chamber, surrounded by a soft glow. His armor lay dismantled beside him, its metallic surface now veined with the same luminous pattern that traced his skin. The air pulsed faintly, breathing in sync with his heartbeat. He turned his head. Lyra sat nearby, her hover throne inactive, her feet touching the floor for the first time in years. The light from the crystal walls reflected softly in her silver eyes, eyes that saw. She looked at him and smiled. "You're awake." He grinned faintly. "So are you. In more ways than one." Lyra flexed her hands slowly, marveling at the movement. "The merge didn't just heal me. It changed everything. The crystal, it's part of us now." He sat up carefully, feeling the faint hum under his skin. "Part of me, too." She nodded. "You're not just human anymore. You're Solenian in resonance. The planet recognizes you as one of its own." He exhaled. "Guess I'm officially stuck here." Her smile deepened. "You say that like it's a punishment." Jace looked around at the living glow surrounding them. "Feels more like destiny." That afternoon, the entire royal city gathered in the Hall of Mirrors, the same chamber where Lyra and Jace had first met. Now, its polished crystal floor reflected not tension, but awe. The people had seen the skies burn and heal in a single night. They whispered new words, ones that hadn't existed before. Unionborn, starbound, harmony forged. Regent Kayleigh stood before his people, his regal composure tempered by wonder. "Last night, we faced extinction. Yet it was not force or fire that saved us. It was connection, a bond between worlds, born of courage and love." His gaze fell on Jace and Lyra, two souls who taught an entire civilization what unity means. A ripple of light spread through the hall as the crystals responded to his words, glowing brighter near the pair. Lyra rose from her throne, though she no longer needed it. Her steps were steady, each one leaving faint golden prints that faded slowly. "My people," she said, her voice carrying warmth that filled the air. "We have spent lifetimes believing that perfection meant purity, that our world must stay untouched to remain strong. But today, you have seen the truth." She turned toward Jace, her smile soft but certain. Perfection was never purity. It was balance. It was learning to see the beauty in imperfection and to let it make us whole. The crowd bowed their heads, and a soft, resonant tone echoed from the walls as if the world itself agreed. That night, after the celebrations, Jace and Lyra stood atop the highest spire of the palace. Below them, the entire planet pulsed like a sleeping heart, alive, unified, and aware. The stars above glittered brighter than before, each one reflecting faintly off Solenne's new golden aura. "You feel it too, don't you?" Lyra whispered. He nodded. "Yeah, like it's listening." "It is," she said. "Since the merge, the crystal consciousness has grown. It's beginning to think, to dream. It's spreading beyond the atmosphere." He looked at her sharply. "You mean, into space?" She smiled. "Yes. The song we created, it's already moving through the void. Other civilizations will hear it. Some will fear it. Others will answer." Jace chuckled softly. "So we started a revolution by accident." "No," she said, reaching out to take his hand. "We started evolution." They stood in silence, fingers intertwined. The world around them hummed like a living symphony, harmonizing with their pulse. "I used to think humanity's greatest power was survival," Jace said quietly. "But maybe it's connection. The way we reach for others, even when the universe tells us not to." Lyra leaned closer, her voice barely a whisper. "And maybe that's why the universe needed you." He looked at her glowing eyes, now alive with endless depth. "And you taught me that strength doesn't mean control, it means trust." She smiled, her expression serene. "Then we've both learned what it means to be alive." Above them, a new star ignited, not natural, not random. A golden flare formed at the edge of the sky, pulsing in perfect sync with Solenne's crystal rhythm. The light grew until it became visible even beyond the system, a beacon in the dark. Lyra's voice was soft, full of awe. "The network, it's reaching beyond our world." Jace watched the star burn brighter. It's calling to others. And they'll come, she said. Not for conquest. For understanding. He smiled faintly. For once, that doesn't sound like a threat. Lyra turned to him, the soft wind catching her silver hair. You realize, don't you? You changed everything. He shook his head. No, we did. The crystal light washed over them both. And as they kissed, gentle, certain, eternal, the song of Solenne Prime rose one last time, sending its melody into the stars. Years later, travelers crossing the edge of known space would pick up a signal, a gentle, rhythmic pulse that no machine could fully decode. Some called it a miracle. Others called it evolution. But the ones who listened closely heard something more, a voice within the harmony, whispering through time and distance. Across light and life, across difference and fear, humanity's heart still beats. And love is the sound it makes.